many compelling things about Civil War battlefields is our ability to find human interest stories and take those stories and convert them to the battlefield landscape itself, where those things happen. And that's what we're doing here on the Gaines's Mill battlefield. Gaines's Mill occurring on June 27 of 1862, the second of the 7 days battles outside Richmond and the largest of that series of battles. On the afternoon of the 27th, the Union 5th Corps was defending a ridge with its back to the Chickahominy River, part of a rearguard action as the Union Army retreated to the James River. Confederates bent on their destruction. After many hours of afternoon fighting, some of the final attacks occurred on this ground. An Alabama brigade, commanded by General Cadmus Wilcox, stormed across Bosun's Creek, which is just down the hill behind me, over my shoulder, and onto this wooded knoll where I now stand. Today's human interest story deals with the 11th Alabama Infantry, the flag of the regiment, and the men who carried it. First flag bearer was a fellow named Maxwell, and as he first came within sight of the Union line, he was quite literally riddled, hit by 13 separate bullets, killed dead on the battlefield. A teenaged farmer named Banbury Jones scooped up the flag in the emotion of the moment and led the charge across the creek. His performance so impressive that General Wilcox remembered it many years later, writing that Jones seized the colors. His right arm was soon broken. He then held it with his left hand, and he was soon shot through both legs, no bones broken. And then his left arm was wounded, and the flag fell, was picked up and given to a third man, Jones protesting. He met my aide and complained, said they had taken the colors from him. My arms are broken and I am shot through both legs, but I can walk. And I asked them to tie the flagstaff to my body, and I would, and I could. Well, of course, they didn't tie the flagstaff to his body. Confederates swept over this ground, drove the Union 5th Corps back across the Chickahominy River at the end of the battle. Just 72 hours later, that same flag and that same regiment, the 11th Alabama, engaged in another terrible fight at Frazier's Farm, some 15 miles south of here, also called the Battle of Glendale. 11th Alabama stormed Randall's Battery, the United States artillery contingent. There was hand-to-hand fighting among the guns. The flag bearer that afternoon was a fellow named Charlie McNeil. Charlie McNeil carried the flag up to the cannon, was mortally wounded. His nephew, Billy, came to rescue him and was killed with the flag. And in the words of a survivor, when we were forced back, Charlie McNeil was left with his flag. And when we returned, he had been slain by a bayonet thrust through the heart, and our colors were gone.
The flag of the 11th Alabama Infantry is fairly typical of those that were issued to Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia in 1862. The orange border is made from material that was captured at the Gosport Naval Yards earlier that year. The Seven Pines Battle Honor was authorized by the government to be issued to those units that were engaged in the battle. Now, this flag was captured at Frazier's Farm by Corporal Charles Shambo of the 11th Pennsylvania Reserves. Apparently, his motivation for capturing this flag was retribution for some compatriots that had been captured at Gaines's Mill. So he decided to position himself actually in front of his own lines, waited for the Confederates to attack, dashed forward, wrested this flag from the Confederate color bearer, and then, despite his exposed position, was able to make it back to his own lines unhurt. He was later awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his actions. The flag of the 11th Alabama came to us in 1906 by an act of Congress that repatriated all the Confederate flags back to the South. The flag has since been conserved and is now in the collection of the Museum of the Confederacy.